Hi, good afternoon, good morning. I'm sorry I can't come by the school to present this interesting project to all of you, but hopefully I hope that you all can kind of walk with me through this journey. It's an incredible journey. I had lots of help from a lot of people, and today I want to share some of this interesting journey with you all. So good morning. My name is Ho Chee Kong. Both Zhou and I came up with this idea of doing this project together, and I'm going to kind of walk you through some of this. Let me swap the display here first. Okay, I hope you all can see the screen. If you can see the screen, give me a thumbs up. Okay, thank you. That looks like a thumbs up. On my screen, you're all like very, very small. And, coming out from this particular kind of COVID thing, my eyesight is not very good right now, actually. But here goes. Okay, so today we're talking a little bit about narrating reimagination of works. The works are some of the pieces that I've written before, and we wanted to do a concert. I wanted to do a recording of this. Let me run through it with you. So these are my collaborators, Zhou, Xiaodong, Xiangning, and we came up with this particular project, calling it Reimagining, because it actually took a lot of imagination trying to put these things together, as you can see later on in the slides. But before that, I want to express my deep appreciation for the following. Usually, I'll do the thanks at the end of the slide, but in this case, I think I better do it up front first before I forget. And so I'd like to thank all the following people who have contributed to this particular project in making it possible. It is not so simple. It is seen at first, talking about putting some works together, getting an orchestra together, putting in the recording studio, and then do the recording. It's actually a little bit more complicated than that. But through creative imagination, I guess we kind of pull this off. So let me share the next slide. So this project didn't actually start off as a live concert featuring 3 orchestral works, but it did kind of start off with the idea of recording the works. And one of the major factors contributing to wanting to record is the licensing of Dolby Atmos to YST in the December of 2020. Another factor was because of COVID and then the resulting measures in place to manage the pandemic. When COVID struck, it was a major disruptor to the relationships between listeners and the performers in a live concert setting. There were many questions that we had about how to keep concerts going, to get the music going, the music making, getting people together, getting people to listen. But for Zhou and I, we wonder if, given all the safety measure restrictions that we had, whether music can be recorded with this technology to give listeners a better in-concert hall experience without the concert hall. And thus began the Reimagining project. So I'm going to share with you, some of the reimagining. There are going to be 5 parts in this reimagining, so please bear with me. So one of the first reimagining was on the work There and Back, which was composed in around 2018, 2019 for solo violin and cello with a Chinese orchestra. And because it was scored for a Chinese orchestra, it has to be rearranged, considering the colors and textures are very different from a Chinese orchestra to a symphony orchestra. That took quite a bit of reimagination. The entire plucked strings
Please bear with us, his internet probably got a little unstable.
The sheng, the Chinese mouth organ instruments from the Chinese orchestra, has also to be imagined because of the particular sound color that it has. And other considerations include trying to balance, the soloist passages with the symphony orchestra colors, such as the brass instruments. It's not a kind of a direct translation of putting brass instruments to the wind instruments in the Chinese orchestra or vice versa. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but we did it anyways. And then, of course, there is the second reimagining, which is because of COVID. Safety measures in managing a pandemic were very restrictive for recording and orchestral work in a recording studio. The number of musicians present in each recording session was very limited at that point of time. There were safety distancing, people had to wear masks and all kinds of restrictions. And that led to even more questions, right? Like how many parts of the music can be recorded each time? And then how can the tempo be synced amongst the separate recordings? And how can the dynamics be moderated in order for a coherent orchestral balance? So how to record the soloists? Where do they come in? Do we record them first or last? And what is the stable tempo that's going to run through the piece in order to keep everything together? So many questions. And one of the things that we explored was how we can kind of like record in small little groups and then maybe perhaps layer them to create a thicker orchestral sound. So that was the second reimagining. And then while we were going through that, there were changes again to COVID restrictions. It sort of sounded like some good news, which is the lifting of some of the COVID restrictions for performers located within a single space, right? So we thought that, okay, we could pack some more people into the recording studio. That might help a little bit. So the safety distancing became smaller, right? And then we could put a little bit more people in the room, but still there were kind of like a limited number of people allowed inside one particular space. So during our discussions revisiting the recording plan, Solar suggested to bring another perspective to the work. In the piece there and back was for solo violin and solo cello. And he said, why don't we replace the solo violin with a solo erhu? Seeing that the entire Chinese orchestra is now replaced by a symphonic orchestra arrangement. So it makes sense for one of the solo instruments to represent the Chinese orchestra or instruments, and that is the erhu. And so that was another reimagining. Because we know that the erhu itself has got very limited range compared to the violin. That has to be kind of compensated for and rearranged so that it has to be in the right register. And then with the lifting of more COVID restrictions, the discussions then became more of a recording of a larger group of musicians in the same space. Anyone breathless yet? Yeah, lots of things to change. So the next imagining is with the ongoing discussions of having more musicians being permitted on stage. Another news that came was the size of the audience, the restricted size of the audience in the concert hall was lifted too, and that was good news. And then one of our colleagues who was involved in this project, solo cellist Jing Li Wei, our colleague, he suggested, why not do a live concert instead of just making a studio recording of the three works? And so we began another relook at the project. Let's move on to the next one. So this is the fifth reimagining. The three works in the project are There and Back for solo erhu, solo cello and orchestra, Passage Fantasy for solo cello and orchestra, which I had written back in 2008 for the National Arts Council Singapore Arts Festival, performed by Zhou and Om. And then of Passion and Passages for Orchestra, which was recorded by SSO. So as a concert, we were wondering, now how are we going to put these three separate pieces that we were thinking of recording before in a recording studio on the stage and make some sense of it, right? And so we had to create some kind of a narrative, trying to imagine how we can string these works together. And so I'm going to pass this over to Xiangning, and she will kind of like run through and share what actually happened while we're talking about this project, trying to put this into a live concert. So I'm going to mute myself and let Xiangning continue from there.
Okay. Can you all hear me? Okay.
Well, actually, Xiangning, I have no idea what you're talking. Can you kind of like turn on your phone or something so I can hear what you're saying, and then I can coordinate changing of the slides as we go along. Sorry, everyone. Just give us a couple of minutes.
Let me put Prof on call on WhatsApp.
Okay, I got you.
Can you hear me? Okay. All right. Good. Almost noon, everybody. I am Xiangning. And so when Prof Ho told me about this idea, of presenting the three works that he composed at very different times for very different purposes, but wanting to bring them together, and it didn't feel quite right without a narrative, I was more than happy to jump in, because one of my roles here at the Conservatory is to lead the Creative Curation Team. And so for most of the Orchestra Institute's concerts, we do think about curation, about adding narrative, although in very different ways for each. But one of the things about coming up with a narrative with a composer that is still alive, right, is that you get to collaborate and you get to discuss a lot during the process. And here, I want to acknowledge Dr. Frances Lee too, because she really helped with writing a lot of the narration that you're going to see. So, Prof, can we move to the next slide, actually? So most of you here who are either students of Prof or colleagues know Prof very much, probably for his deadpan humor amongst his many other talents. But one talent I did not know until this experience was that he's actually like a closet poet. He wrote this actually, Prof Ho.
Our internet. Sorry, give us a moment. The internet of this computer.
Yeah, so he was like, oh, I think it's, we need a framing poem for everything. And he went back to his office, and within like 30 minutes, he sent me something. And he said, this is not ChatGPT, but he wrote and sent me something. And I was like, wow, Prof. Never knew that, about your poetic tendencies. But yes. Shall I read?
Yeah, read it.
All right. Between the shadows of light, I breathe for us, releasing lights while I dance in darkness, faceless in the morn, restless at dusk, torn in the howls of winds as I sing in calmness. Beyond waves of sanity, they sleep for us, shades lending fire while they cry in numbness, lifeless emotion trembling at rest. Drawn in a whirlpool of sounds, they swim in madness. Rising above the sunlight, I see for you. Lifting the ground while you dance in lightness. Dreamless in the night, restful at last. Given life's breath, you exhale, lost in happiness. So this is the poem that he came up with. And it's structured in 3 stanzas to correspond with the 3 pieces. And so, Prof, can we go to the next slide? The first stanza, right, is sort of like a preamble. It's like an introduction, because the first is corresponding with the first piece, there and back. You get a little bit of the sense of this person's struggle within themselves. And this essence, right, of struggle is not something that we decided to add in at this point. It was there with his original composition. So I think it's just teasing it out and then adding a narrative to it. So Francis wrote most of this, actually. We thought for a long time, like, okay, this person is in a little bit of distress, he's struggling, but when people enter the concert hall, right, and this poem that we're introducing to them, what is the best way, their best point of entry? Because we don't want to just have it in first person, this person sounding distressed, like, I am distressed, because, we all come in from very different things before the concert. Not everybody is quite ready to go deep yet. And I think, as curators, as performers, that's something we often need to think about. Like, we are immersed in the process for so long, right? We know exactly what the piece is saying, and we are so deeply empathetic with it. But people, if you just came from a nice dinner, why would you want to hear about someone in the depths of torment just right on the get-go? So we decided to come up with a... Ooh, where did the words go? Yeah, we decided to come up with, like, from a third person perspective, saying he called last night. So it's somebody recounting a conversation instead of saying I am distressed. Like, he called last night and he shared. So if we can move on to the next slide. Can you click again, Prof. Ho? And the second, so after that, the orchestra played. And the second framing that we gave is to passage fantasy. This piece, Prof. Ho actually initially wrote taking inspiration from Stravinsky's Rite of Spring. So it's this idea of, the chosen one and then living with some deep-seated regret. And so basically, if we started off a little bit dark already, this plunged further into like distress. And this person's nightmares are back, and further, just going deeper into the struggle of being back and forth, of being very much ensnared in your thoughts. And this is where I want to show. Can we have the? Kayla, can we have the video? This actually, I forgot to say just now. This is actually what the audience was seeing in the hall. There was this huge screen above the orchestra, and the poems, not poems, these texts, the prose was read, voiceover, and we had, like a graphic designer just lightly animate something, just colors and hues to suggest the emotional landscape. So this is, the framing prose for the second piece.
His nightmares are back. Again and again, he lives through there in the future and back again. The vivid images, different each time, a twist here, a turn there, but the nightmares always end the same. Sometimes he sees through others' eyes. Sometimes he's disembodied, like an outsider looking on. Night after night, he wakes up in a cold sweat, like descending into an abyss, I remembered him saying. Like reaching out to save, but I can't even see my hands. I told him that we can't win every battle. Heavily, he said. Then what's the point of knowing?
It's always very strange hearing your voice in playback. But yes, that was up on the screen, and then we just transitioned into the next piece. The final framing is a bit more hopeful, right? So of Passion and Passages, it is about looking forward, because that was Prof. Ho's initial intention when he wrote this. Was commissioned by another organization asking him, to write something to signify this looking forward of the company, and he wrote this. So yes, is to acknowledge all the struggles from before, but have a sense of slight reprieve of looking on, ending on a more hopeful note. And so yes, again, this is the text for that. But so what? We live, and we go into the final piece. So I think that's all on my part. Maybe I'll pass the time back to Prof. Ho. Prof. Ho, can you hear me? I'm done. Please continue with the presentation.
Hello. Okay. And so Thank you, Xiangning, for recounting that experience. And so I think that you get a sense of all the things that kind of happened from 2020 till the piece was performed or the concert happened last October, and it went through quite a bit of iterations. But at the end of the day, I think, and then both Zhou and I still ask the same question, right? Now how can recording in Dolby Atmos enhance a listener's in-concert hall experience without being in a concert hall? And then this is also experimented and explored with Xiaodong, thanks to him and his infinite patience, in answering our questions and trying to put our things together. We were able to finally make the concert and do the recording. And at this point, perhaps I would like to invite my collaborators also, Zhou, Prof. Chan, to chip in to see if he has anything else to add to this particular project, and Xiaodong as well.
Okay, thank you.
So I should mute.
Hi, I was just thinking maybe the best way for me to proceed actually to first explain why we're in this room. And to do that, I will ask my colleague Xiaodong. Prof. Xiaodong heads the audio art sciences and the conservatory. This is a very interesting part of the conservatory. It's not a part of the conservatory that most people see. Even though we do 200 performances a year, and they're always there, him and his team. And I think the team is really bigger than this. But one of the things that we're blessed with in this building is this lab. This is a Dolby Atmos lab. So I would invite Xiaodong to maybe share a little bit about why we have this lab and what's the technology behind it. And then I can briefly share about how the recording was connected to performance. And then we can hear a little bit. And I should also explain the reason why there should perhaps have been any chairs in this room. And that's because we will have to invite you into this space. But that will take place in a while. Xiaodong?
Yeah. So later we're going to listen to Atmos format of this piece. Atmos actually is one of the immersive format, the sound format developed by Dolby. But we have several other format, but we're using Atmos. Here is not advertised for any algorithm or protocol. We are listening the immersive sound every day in live, but I've never done this electronically. So Atmos give us the opportunity. So this is a 9.1.4 system. So compared to the traditional 5.01 system, and this system gives you a better surround feeling. Okay, so maybe you can take a listen later. If you have any questions, just let us know.
So you see, we come back to the same question. The original question was, how could we, in a way, replicate or be as close to possible the live concert experience? But whilst we were curating and imagining this project, YST, the conservatory, had in parallel been developing this studio and the technology behind it, as well as the student capability to be able to make good use of that technology. So one of the thinkings about the project was also how do we bring the two together? And so that resulted in connecting with you, YST Orchestra Institute, that provided Opus Novus, whom we heard last night, as the basic ensemble to be able to perform these. And then we had rehearsals scheduled, not that many actually, as well as a patch session the day after the performance, so that we could make sure we had everything needed to be able to put on recording the concert. And you will hear a little bit of that. And in relation to replicating the live feel of a concert, well, actually, I think the jury is still out really whether that's actually possible. However, it seems that technology can help us get a little bit closer all the time. And the main thing about the Dolby Atmos technology is the move from stereophonic to surround sound to something that comes over the top of us. And that's a very simple way of maybe thinking about that. And so our plans are that this will be prepared to be put on Apple Music. In Apple Music, they call it the spatial surround sound. And also, it's a sort of demonstrator of the conservatory's commitment to audio art and sciences and the technologies that are involved in it. So, for instance, of course, you never heard it from me, but we are about to launch a Masters in Audio Art and Sciences in relation to immersive technology in electric vehicles. And a lot of it will come here. In a few months' time, you might see a vehicle parked outside. We are in the process of buying. But in the meantime, maybe we should get to listen to some of this. Right? So, yeah. Sorry? Yeah. So, can I hand it back to you, Chee Kong? And then we can listen to some of this.
Thank you. Thank you, Zhou and Xiaodong and Xiangning. I think you guys, helped so much in this project. Can I invite everyone to give them a round of applause, please? They really put in a lot of thinking and planning into this particular project. And so I think there's still a little bit of time left. Do you want to hear the piece first or ask some questions? I can't really see the screen, but it doesn't look like anyone has any questions yet. This is not graded.
So like maybe if you all could take turns and just come within the space.
Okay. We'll hear the piece first. All right. Okay, I'm going to mute myself and I'm going to let Kayla take over. Oh, can I also invite everyone to give Kayla a round of applause because she is the one who really put all these things together too. Thanks, Kayla. So I'll mute myself and pass it to you.
Yes. So can we invite maybe some people to come in and then we can sort of move around. And the idea is that you need to be kind of near here, right?
Within the
Actually,
center.
yeah, actually there's a cross mark here. But
The center is the best, and you have to be within at least the truss system. Otherwise, you can't hear the behind speakers.
Go ahead.
Any questions? So for the Atmos sound, you can hear the ensemble from the stage as is clear, much more clear because we separate the side reflection and reflection from your behind from sitting to the other speakers. So you can hear real side reflection in this area. So everything in front of you becomes clear. For the traditional two-channel stereo sound, actually we combine the directed sound and reflection reverb, everything together from two loudspeakers. So there are a lot of interference. And the instrument actually is not that clear. You don't have a real, the live experience in the concert hall. So this kind of immersive sound, the best thing is to give you a more real reflection from the concert. You feel yourself like sitting in a concert hall. All right. So probably you can play back the two-channel stereo format for computer.
So this is without the Dolby Atmos. It's just the standard two stereo that you hear in most devices.
This is one of the technology developed by Atmos. You can see exactly the position of the instrument, right? So you can, yeah. So you can hear the position of the mic. So we set up the mic especially for side reflection and scene reflection.
I think it is. We have just 5 more minutes.
So can we move to the questions?
Yes, indeed.
Jeremy.
Does anybody have questions? Yes.
How much is this whole setup?
The important question. Cost.
Actually, you don't have to set up physical loudspeaker. But Atmos, the best solution for Atmos recording is a loudspeaker-based solution. But you can use a headphone. There are many musicians, composers, including from pop industry. They finish their mixing on headphone, then bring the mixing here, then take a look, double check the bass. Yeah.
Any other questions? There are always fewer questions than one imagines, but I think that's a tribute to the presentation. Anything else that so we have about 4 more minutes of the complete session. Should we hear a little more music, or shall we call it a day?
Yeah, we can listen probably.
If there's no questions, then I can just play the music.
A little more music, just 2 or 3 more minutes, and then we will wrap up. Thank you. And anybody who hasn't had this experience inside here, please do come forward now. Oh, some people, please, yes.
This is the spot.
That's the sweet spot.
I have a question.
Oh,
So,
there is another question.
is it practical for it to be recorded in like the Dolby Atmos format if you do not have the Dolby Atmos system to play it in?
Yeah, the answer is definitely practical, and you have to, because the Dolby Atmos give a lot of commercial opportunities for musician, composer, even for the conservatory. So every time, for example, audio RC departments, we try our best to record both 2-channel stereo and Atmos for every concert recital.
And I guess following that question, it would be that do you see it? Is it easy to record it in this format for like classical concert? Or do you see it being?
Now
sort of
you
the future?
need a lot of mics.
The mics are
Yeah, right. Yeah, for the concert, we're gonna record on Saturday, so we use like about 50 mics. Right.
50.
Thank you for those questions, very useful. I think we should wrap up now. I would like to say thank you very much to Professor Ho, and indeed to all colleagues.